Okay, hello everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's AMA session. My name is Jit. I'm part of the Startup Weekend Singapore organizing team, and together with me, I have
Hussein here, organizer of past Startup Weekends. So this weekend, we're actually really excited to be a part of Techstars movement to hold a global online startup weekend. For this edition, we have about 70 cities on board to organize Startup Weekend virtually. And it's also the first time the Singapore team is doing that as well.
Yeah, like what Hussein shared, it's a global program under Techstars, and it's been run by volunteers in more than 150 countries with more than 3,000 events to date. It's a 54-hour program where people come together to ideate and build solutions to solve day-to-day challenges. But why it's interesting this time around is all the participants of this Startup Weekend Singapore will be tackling challenges arising from the very real COVID-19 situation virtually. Yeah, Hussein, since you've been part of Startup Weekend for the past few years, maybe you could share with me maybe what's the difference between the virtual ones and the physical ones, like what's the major,
Yeah, man, happy to answer. So basically, right, for usual Startup Weekends, there are about 50 packs, give and take, 10, 20. But in Singapore, of course, we try to be a little bit crazier. We've done bigger ones up to about 200 to 300 people in the last 2 years or so. But of course, this time, given the PM just gave word that it's extending a circuit breaker, I think a lot of people are online. And I heard that the subscribership of this year's Startup Weekend is even bigger than the past Startup Weekends. Jit, do you mind sharing?
Yeah, I think it's really exciting news for us. Maybe we could get a drum roll from you, and I'll reveal the big count number that we have right now of participants.
I will try, but I don't
drum roll, please. Okay, so basically we have 455 participants till date.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's really like 2 times the mega, right?
Yeah, actually it is. My goodness, the logistics behind this is insane. I can't even imagine how awesome it's gonna be on this weekend when we actually start running it.
Yeah, definitely.
Anyway, so for this evening, I think we're still waiting for a guest. So I'll just share a little bit about her, perhaps, or maybe Jade, if you want to cover a little bit of what's going to happen. For those people who are tuned in, maybe Jade can share a little bit about what to expect over the next couple of days.
Yeah, definitely. So if you haven't already signed up for your tickets to Startup Weekend Singapore, happening actually this weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 24th to 26th, I think that there will definitely be a link below in the comment section. So go on there, go on Eventbrite, submit your details, and all will be revealed there. Basically, you have a direct email after you sign up on instructions on what you should do next. So the next instructions will be definitely to join our Discord channel as well. So that's how you basically start out, and that's where we're going to give instructions, and everything will be revealed there. So yeah.
Awesome. Okay, cool. So I'm just looking at some of my notes here. Sorry about that. Yeah, so for our first guest, so today, right, we actually are very fortunate to have 2 guests. So for the first guest in this evening's AMA, her name's Qing Ru. She actually hit the headlines when she co-founded Zopim, a chat software for brand owners to communicate and engage with their customers. She eventually sold it off to Zendesk. And before turning into Millionaire at 29. But I think we're still waiting on her to come in. So maybe I'll just share with you a little bit about how startup weekends are typically, and then maybe we'll draw some parallels and see how this weekend is going to be different. So typically for startup weekend, right, people come in on a Friday evening, and then they get together and form teams to basically work on an idea and present over the weekend. But for this year's Startup Weekend, because everything is happening virtually, I think the team formation will likely be happening virtually as well. I mean, you can't meet your friends anymore. But the overall flow, aside from the fact that you don't have a stage or a physical place to hack, otherwise it's all the same, I believe. Yeah. So we've actually just gotten word that Qing, our first guest is already here. It can be, yeah. So Jit, do you want to get her in, please? Thank you.
Yep, just sending a message in out and yes, Qing Ru is here.
Hi guys.
How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me.
No problem. So we were just about to share a little bit about you. I was just sharing about how you started Zopim a couple years ago. Eventually you sold it off to Zendesk. Do you mind sharing a little bit more about yourself? I mean, apart from what we saw on LinkedIn.
Right. Okay. I'm always a bit embarrassed when people ask me about that because that happened 6 years ago, the acquisition. So it's pretty old news. But yeah, I think so we founded Zopim back then in 2008. A bunch of us who were in a NUS NOC program in Stanford. So Zopim is actually a live chat software that enables people to chat with the customers on our website. So we did quite well, and apparently when we got acquired, we were also the #1 most trafficked live chat website in the world. So if you look at Google Trends, so I think that's why Zendesk found us. That's how Zendesk found us, I think, in the first place. So yeah, in 2014 we got acquired, and I think the rest is history, pretty much covered in the paper. So I won't bore everyone with the details.
Yeah. So I mean, you eventually moved on to being a partner at True Global Ventures. We'll touch a little bit about your involvement at, I mean, your current role in True Global Ventures in a while. But before that, right, we also found out that you were actually recently appointed onto the board of ACE, the Action Center for Entrepreneurship, right? And you're also working on some COVID-related challenges. Do you mind sharing a bit more about that? I think for context, right, like what Jit mentioned earlier this year on Startup Weekend, the theme will be driving innovation to combat COVID, right? So yeah, this can't come at the perfect time.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if everyone knows about ACE, but ACE is actually a national platform that promotes entrepreneurship in Singapore, and we have a launchpad that is in Ayar Raja hosting quite thousands of startups in that space, and generally there is a lot of engagement to kind of build the entire ecosystem. Starting a few years back, we were a little bit more privatized, and right now I think a lot of the initiatives that we do, for example, like this COVID subcommittee that I started. I mean, we're free to start anything that we think is going to help Singapore on a national level, and I think it's really appropriate for us to do it right now. So later, I'm happy to share with you guys a little bit more, but probably a little bit later, the details of some of the initiatives that. Actually, we haven't actually formed a committee, so we don't have initiatives, but we have plans for initiatives.
All right.
We have plans to engage people. So we have the core team formed, and they are all mostly exited entrepreneurs who are actually not working on like any startup right now, because I think that's where they get the bandwidth. Of course, in the current unprecedented situation that we're facing, a lot of startups are really busy firefighting, right? And they absolutely don't have the bandwidth to do anything else other than try to fix what they have to fix. So
okay, so I mean, like we have another 4 more weeks, right? Because I mean, thanks to the recent message from our minister. So maybe we'll just start with the first question. I mean, during this period, right, I think I understand that a lot of startups are quite hit badly. Do you have any advice, and how can startups actually capitalize on this period, come out stronger?
Okay, so first and foremost, I think it's a very tough question because there are a lot of sectors that are certainly not doing well, like co-working space. You have travel, airlines, events. So if you're dealing with that space, you actually see a shrinking, if not non-existent pipeline, and definitely huge churn rates. And I think we saw that in my own angel portfolio companies. I see that as well. So I think the question is, what do you do about that? You know, are you gonna stay still? I mean, if you just continue doing what you're doing, you're not gonna survive. So Alex Lin, a co-board member on ACE, and also the CEO of Intuitive, and myself, we were just discussing about how certain key functionalities of a startup could actually be applied to more than one vertical. So
Okay.
that's how I'm thinking about how you're going to pivot to a new market. So, for example, he talked about a travel app that allows people to plan a group travel itinerary. So essentially it's the same concept, right? If you use this functionality to kind of help parents plan for after school activity, meaning you could send your kids to their classes using Uber, just like how you are using this app to book a taxi to send people to the hotels.
Yeah.
And maybe you can find a new market in that. But whether people are able to kind of say, all right, so how do we start doing it? How do we start pivoting from finding hotels and taxis to like the Ubers and the parents who are going to use the app? That's another challenge altogether. Of course, sometimes you can pivot and sometimes you can't. So I think it's very important first to really do a scenario planning of the current business. We look at the plan and look at the details, right? What do you mean by details? Like, what are the levers that you can pull as you continue running the business? Right. So say if your sales drop by 10% by the end of Q2, what are you going to do? Are you going to retrench X number of people? Yeah. And if your sales are not moving through the funnel and you're dropping the leads because your customers your customers are disappearing, could you consider trimming salaries or instead of laying people off? So these are the tough decisions that people have to make, and sometimes they have to kind of cut to the bone to survive. But like if they have to do it, they have to do it. So I think a recession sometimes does do something good in that it really wipes out business that are not viable. And I kind of just like not adaptable, unusually high burn rates, non-optimized sales funnel. So these are the small cracks that will become like a deal breaker in a situation like this. So is it right to pivot? Yes. Is it right to even say hibernate and lock down the company until we can see demand materializing? Maybe. Yeah. Is it even possible to shut down? I think if we have to cut losses, yes. So there are many ways of looking at it. And these are all difficult conversations that co-founders need to have with their teams.
Yeah, I think before, I just wanted to add, because like I myself am working in a startup, right? And I'm in real estate. I think that's one of the hardest hit industries currently. So I really feel the pain. We've gone cold for 2 weeks and it's really, really insane. And then it's going to be another 1 month. So really like what you mentioned, I think it weeds out all the bad, I wouldn't say bad, non-viable ones. But also I think I see some light. I think some new ideas would come out of this. Some more scalable ones. We are getting used to working from home as well. Yeah.
And I think the previous question was a good segue to my next question, actually. So with the changing retail landscape, right, do you feel that the business and customer relationship and dynamics are going to remain the same pre and post-COVID, or do you feel that there will be some changes there in terms of the customer and business relations?
Right. To be honest, I am not very familiar with retail, but because of the changes that we see right now, that everything is moving from kind of online retail to e-commerce, I think that's a huge paradigm shift. Already those who are in kind of like entrenched in the entire offline retail space are really forced to move online. So there is a change in not just user behavior, but also merchant behavior. And again, I think we're talking about the adaptability of some of these businesses. How can they cash in on this situation? Because we do see, if you look at Amazon, right? I mean, they made like, $37 billion over this entire COVID period. There is a real market there. And it really, at the end of the day, it really depends on whether they are willing to make some of these more painful decisions, such as closing down offline shops and dedicating a budget to grow their online marketing strategy and digital strategy. And there are also a lot of funds given by the government to encourage all of that. I think, okay, well, we'll go into the funds part later. I think this is where I feel that the government's help actually comes in handy. I think recently there is this I think there's this SG2020 fund that the government has announced. I mean, no details on that yet. But essentially, if you hire the new graduates out of school, and bear in mind, these are the people who are like more digitally savvy, they could actually help this decades-old retail business transform, right? Essentially, they are the younger digitally savvy ones. So we can go into the details of that later if you want to talk about it. But yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, actually, I would love to find out a bit more on that. I mean, there's direct impact to myself as well in my own startup. But yeah, but I mean, during this period, right, there are some startups that are actually in the verge, or rather just before COVID, right? They were in the verge of fundraising or in the midst of fundraising. I think this time it really hit them. I mean, after what happened to WeWork, right? And we saw, I myself saw a whole slowdown in how investors looked at portfolios, how they selected companies, and how, basically how due diligence is being done, right? Unit economies became a lot more important. And profitability just shifted forward thanks to our dear brother in in the US. And then recently Luckin as well, right? We saw the whole fiasco with Luckin. So like, I mean, as a startup owner or aspiring entrepreneur, right? Getting funding seems to look even more bleak this year, and that's factoring in an impending trade war between the US and China.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, both my question is going to be like, or do you have any advice like for a startup founder who's looking for funds right now, be it early stage or B and C onwards? What should he be prioritizing to secure those funds?
Yeah, I think this is a very good question. I mean, where is the money? Who's putting in money and who's investing?
Yeah.
Are we reading that on papers? I think honestly, the amount of like funding news have shrunk a lot over the whole COVID period. So I guess the approach that an entrepreneur should take when fundraising right now is to really check out those who are at the start of the fund life. They might have just raised a bunch of money, announced it a couple of months ago. They will have to invest in the next couple of years. They will have to take a thesis on how the economy is going to turn out in the next 1 to 2 years and invest based on that thesis. Of course, the capital will be less actively deployed because people are still trying to figure out like how to help their own portfolio companies navigate COVID. Scenario planning, seeing how they could help them cut costs, etc. But if they have really not signed checks during the COVID period, they are unlikely to want to do so. Or maybe they're just buying time in order to. Time is a way to reduce uncertainty, right? To see if the startups are going to survive. So I think it's going to be very difficult. I think even the conversations that people think they would have with a VC is going to change. I think in the past, we like to talk about matrix. We like to say, what are the key metrics that's relevant for your industry and your region? Say, for example, if the benchmark for a B2C software is 3x revenue growth like year on year, and then you're tracking on 2x to say, I could use this extra capital because I know there are bigger opportunities in market. But right now, we can't have that kind of conversation. In fact, the benchmark for the best in class in the industry has changed. Is it still 3x? No, right? 1 year down the road, what is it going to be? Nobody really knows what the new benchmark for like revenue growth and all that in the industry is anymore. So I think for VCs, that conversation about growth becomes less important. So what really is important for a VC, I think, is the ability for them to, number one, see how you think through the problem. So what has changed post-COVID? How has your customer behavior changed? How has the buying behavior changed? And how are you going to adapt to that? So it's all about problem solving, right? And being able to articulate that and prove to them that, this is still going to be a viable business, whatever it was before COVID and pre-COVID, is important. But the conversation also evolves beyond just growth and market size, but it's also about valuation. Right. I think everyone's saying, now we have to, VCs are saying you have to be realistic about valuations. All the crazy, insane raises and valuations you've seen in the last year, they don't count anymore. The situation we have is unprecedented. So that's what we hear. And even in surveys, what I see is that you should expect a general markdown valuation at least 20 to 50%. So
that's tough.
yeah, so it's tough,
that's
right?
quite markdown.
Yeah, but it's a fact. It's a fact. I think you're going to be prepared to squeeze, and there are some portfolio companies we have seen that are trying to do a down round. So the process of raising capital is going to be slow. Valuation is going to be marked down. Conversations are going to be different. People are more worried about profitability and sustainability more than growth. So you just have to bear in mind all of these different things when you're approaching a VC.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a really, really tough quarter 2 or 3 and 4 as well.
Yeah.
So I
Okay,
think.
so basically we are, yeah.
Sorry, Joe, go ahead.
We're also taking comments from Facebook. So we got some questions for you as well. So maybe I can share one we've got from Laika Wing. So he mentioned that we had the Great Depression and the Great Recession, and some are starting to call this the Great Paralysis. So what do you think about this and this statement? Maybe we're just taking some of your thoughts on this.
Dwelling into philosophy,
Yeah, I think they read up that you majored in philosophy previously.
Right. Okay. So fortunately, I have a very tangible use case because Zopium was born out of the period of the financial crisis in 2008, right? We started in end 2007, and then 2008 there was the financial crisis. So in fact, technically I graduated in June 2008, and that's when I joined. So I would say that whatever that you hear about the mass like bloodshed and all the down rounds and all that, it will not affect you if you're just starting up. If all you're doing is a bunch of co-founders, hunkering down, building products, assessing the market, understanding what the problem is, building an MVP, bringing it to the customer, testing and iterating, then that doesn't cost money, right? So in fact, that is probably the best phase of a startup life, the best phase of a startup you could be in when in a recession. I honestly don't feel stressed in 2008. I'm not getting a salary anyway, right? I'm doing this. This is fun.
Fair enough.
But of course, like if you heard about Hien's sharing the previous week, for him, 2008 was a disaster, right?
Yeah.
Our revenues were down by 50%. I don't know. He was saying that it was a very difficult time for him. I can imagine that if you are trying to scale, yes, that would be a challenge. But if you are like right now, all of us here, we are locked in because we are excited about Startup Weekend. We're trying to build something. That's the best.
Yeah.
That's the best place to be in. So, it depends on how you look at it. Yeah.
That's true.
Definitely.
I mean, based on perspective, this entire period can be an opportunity as well, right? There's definitely going to be some business models that try. I mean, the very software that we are using, Zoom, they're making money out of this. They're going to earn so much out of this, right? And I think streaming platforms similarly, right? So back when you started,
back to that, right?
Yeah.
It's easy to identify which are the paradigm shifts that are happening. We know what sector is going to make more money than the rest. There are more funding going around because the government is trying to save companies. You can hire for cheap because now there's job displacement from all these tech startups. There is this seriously awesome people list that was created by, in fact, Jen Young, the principal from Saison Capital. He's also part of the subcommittee.
Oh.
So he is. And there's a list of 800 people on that list on that right now, and these people would be willing to. They are looking for jobs. They're looking for opportunities, right? So there is all this displacement and funding and information asymmetry. These are chaotic times that will actually help a startup if they know where to look.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. So just wanted to touch on your founding days a little bit. So I mean, when you first started, right, it's very rare to find a female entrepreneur. I mean, I'm sure you get this question countless times, but I feel that it's more relevant now. Because we are entering an age where you know, you're getting more equality between men and women. Of course, I think I'm not saying that it was a long time ago, but I'm just saying that we've progressed quite a bit. I'm just hoping that this COVID period also, you know, made us factor on what's really important and what you look out in people. So I wanted to check with you or get you to share with us, what was it like being a female co-founder at that point of time?
Right. You know, back then in 2008, there was 0 female-only led teams in Singapore. Oh, sorry, female-only founder team in Singapore. 0. And during my time, yeah, I could only remember like Roshni from Asian Parent, Pragnati from Simplistic. I mean, her Rotimatic machine was just, I could smell it as they bake stuff in the opposite block. There is Yiping, right? She was doing Audios Asia. It's just now I could count like just a handful of us.
Mm-hmm.
And now you see so much more success stories. In fact, like, you know, Love Bonito, Homage, for example, they are like pure female founder led, right?
Yeah.
The numbers are going up, but it's not going up fast enough. Then again, I think this is like a process. You know, you need more female role models. You need more people to step up. So sometimes you have role models and you have stories that inspire and you have people doing it, and that becomes like a momentum that keeps going. I'm really grateful for some of these female initiatives that happens in Singapore, like the Girls in Tech Singapore. They are like probably one of the most active, and they partner with like Facebook to hold sessions and talks for women who are interested to enter entrepreneurship. And there's also Clothing Girls. There are a lot of these initiatives that if you know where to look, again, it's about knowing where to look. And if you're with interested and like-minded friends, you know, it's easy to kind of get something going. But if you're not, startup is not like a natural thing. You go like, oh, tomorrow I'm just going to start a company, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't think it's something that can be rushed. Yeah. But generally there is an improvement, I feel. Yeah. Since like 10 years ago.
I mean, probably a lot of female founders today are looking to you as a hero or role model. So I think we really want to thank you for that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I want to say, right, that my success and my exit means jack shit to anyone here, right?
Really?
Of course.
Why?
Because we did it 10 years ago and the circumstances and environment was very different, right? Like my lessons will be very different from their lessons right now. It is of course like, what should I say? There are a lot more acquisition stories. There are a lot more success stories. There are a lot more content shared about success stories. There's like webinars, masterclass, blah, 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 YouTube videos. I think this becomes part of the problem actually. When it's being glamorized, the whole startup industry, the people that get into it are in it. Why are they really in it? Are they in it because they really want to build products? Or they're in it because it is they feel like, and honestly, like for the 20-year-old entrepreneurs, I've had some like real case situation where they walk up to me and they say, hey, how do you think I can sell this business in the fastest time possible? I want to be able to get acquired and then have the financial freedom to do whatever I want. And I'm like, look, if that's your intention, right, it's going to be very hard for you to make it, because to build great products, like I said, you have to respect the process of understanding the problem, talking to potential customers, and then building the product and iteration. You cannot skip any of that step. You cannot screw up. And you know, it's not like you just sell it the next day. So, and also there's about timing, right? Yeah. Like whatever business that was great 1 year ago is not great now. Where you could have an exit opportunity last year, but this year it would not, like now it may not have happened if you are in travel or like airline, right? And that's totally out of your control. So I think it's very important that when you go to Startup Weekend and your founders, it's very important to not just understand their intention of doing something and why they are like starting up, but also to like see that they need to protect themselves. This one, okay, so this is very important. You always need to have a vesting schedule. So if any founders are going to be losing steam after a few months or a year and they're not a good fit because they realize that startup life is not what they think it is, it's not like what they read online, at least you have the vesting schedule to protect the company, and the guy leaving doesn't take away all his or her shares. I think that's very important because in my, True Global Ventures is a blockchain only fund. So I saw how Bitcoin rocketed in value 2 years ago, and it created a lot of overnight millionaires. And because of all these overnight millionaires and speculative environment, there were also a lot of people that wanted to cash in without a proper business plan. So I would say that the blockchain world has the highest rate of startup death amongst the shortest period of time, especially when crypto shrunk 80% over a year, right?
Yeah. It rose so fast and then it crashed so quickly as well. I think we have a couple. Sorry to interject, but I think we have a couple of startup weekend related questions.
So since you were reminiscing back in your glory days, right? We also found out that you competed in several startup competitions yourself, and coming in as a semi-finalist for one actually. So do you have any advice for our Startup Weekend Singapore participants? And maybe there's a secret sauce that share what is the secret X factor that makes them, they can lead them to winning.
Right. Okay. That's an awkward question because I didn't win the startup competition. So
technically,
it's not about winning, right? I mean, if you go
it's not about winning,
yeah.
But it's just the beginning,
right. The crux is we didn't win, but we exited. That's the
I mean, then you're
great motivation,
right? I mean, that's the real end goal, right?
Yeah, and actually if you look at your FANG stocks, right? Your Facebook, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, these guys didn't even participate in competition. So much less talking about winning one. So I think the key takeaway, like you guys said, if you're in Startup Weekend, don't obsess about winning, because only like foolish investors would only really look at you and throw money at you because you won a competition. So like Startup Weekend is really a great place for you to meet mentors and really tap into their network and their resources and their advice, and really leverage all of that. Even your judges as well. Like last November when I was at Startup X, of course, again organized by Derwin and Gang, which was really awesome. The quality of startups there was incredible.
Thanks to you.
No. The people were really good. And like these guys would come up to me after that, or like talk to me, or on LinkedIn they'll ask me like if I have any more feedback. They genuinely want to learn, and I think that kind of mindset is very important, because if you're going to use your precious Startup Weekend time to build pretty decks, to make your pitch a little bit more polished. These are not things that you can take away from the Startup Weekend. It's not a solid base. I mean, whatever pitch and decks that you have, it's not going to be reused again after this weekend, right? It's going to change.
That's true.
Just like most business, it's going to evolve. So what you want to do is to build a very solid base or foundation that you can use to further grow your business. So really leverage on the network. I think it's a lot harder now that we are doing this online. So how do you speak to mentors? How do you schedule that time? I think this is something that we all have to try to figure out.
We were racking our brains. But we came out, in the end, we do have
I think even after this call, right, there's going to be a lot of people trying to PM you as well, trying to get they try to squeeze every resource that they get, right? They only have 48 hours, 54 hours for the idea in itself. But if they're going for the long run, like you said, right? Then every interaction that they get, be it a teammate or a mentor, even a judge itself, right, will really go a long way. So going back to Startup Weekend as well, so since this year's theme is COVID related, right, I was just wondering, like, based on, I mean, you've been to Startup Weekend previously, and are there any particular ideas or that you are looking to see come out of, out of Startup Weekend, or something that could even potentially, in line with what you are currently working with at ACE as well? Just want to see if any.
I think teams will be listening very attentively to this.
It's okay. I mean, for those attending, I'm got
who says looking out for you guys, man?
So maybe I can share a bit about the initiative that I was working on.
Yeah.
So a bunch of us, me, Ivan Chang from Wonder Labs, Michael Liu from Beluga Capital, and Sharon Yeo from Digital Marketing Asia, we created this platform called findfood.sg. Right now the listings, it's not like the website is live, but the listings are not up yet because there's something wrong with the DBA we're trying to fix. Really trying to connect, allow people to discover nearby hawkers and restaurants around them, even if they are not listed on the major delivery platforms, because we saw a gap. There was like hundreds of thousands of people on like Singapore Rescue Hawker Facebook group. And people were trying to post, Singapore Restaurant Rescue and like Hawkers United. People were just trying to post listings of their like business and what they sell. And it's so hard to try and search through they're like, how do you search and find these hawkers or restaurants that are near you? So Facebook is honestly really terrible for that. So we thought, okay, we had this great idea, we're gonna build that. But you know what, as we're building it, we realized that there were like 10 other people building the same things. In fact, some of us actually talk like Tapao.live. I should talk to them and like, you guys are, maybe we can work on it and do or something. So I think that we need to find where the synergies are. So if you're really working on an initiative, find who is actually doing something similar to you. Find these people, because when you come together, you actually understand the problem better. And really, like the information asymmetry is real in COVID, especially when we are all not in the physical location, we're at home. You want to find information, where do you find them? How do you better understand the problem? Like, Startup Weekend is best for those conversations. So of course it depends on how you guys facilitate and make that happen.
I mean, that's on us.
They will be definitely over communicating there.
Over communication, right?
Sure.
And how do you have that conversation? So I wish I knew these people before I started on an initiative, because if we could work together, I think we could have launched a lot earlier and fixed some of the bugs that we had a lot earlier. But it's still a very fun project. It's not for profit. We're really just trying to help F&B. The other problem I saw, and this was frustrating to me initially because I couldn't actually arrange a grocery delivery to my place, no matter whether it was on like NTUC or Cold Storage.
Everyone was paying for you.
Amazon Prime. I would. There's no delivery slot. Try again tomorrow. There's no delivery slot at all. Like it's 1 a week.
Oh, this was a problem. So back when I was in Lazada, right? This was a problem that they wanted to have. They never got this problem. Thanks to COVID.
And so I was thinking, if everybody actually got to sort like the China model. And the reason why China could leave the lockdown so quickly was because when everyone is staying at home, they could actually get the deliveries to their house in hours. The logistics network was still very much alive. So if people didn't have to leave their home, the infection rates are going to go down. But we don't have that. We don't have that model here. I think primarily because this is actually not as profitable as, say, a restaurant delivery. Number one, when you have grocery deliveries, you're talking about more than 10 to 30 to even 40 items.
Yeah.
So I knew about this problem because I actually went to find out, right? I had people who were working in that space, either delivering to NTUCs or like helping NTUCs with their on-demand workers. So really the situation that they have is they need to find on-demand workers who will come in and pack the groceries, because it is not easy to pack so many groceries, and it's not easy to kind of arrange deliveries for that after that based on location. Like that's, especially when you have bulk volume, it really becomes a logistic headache. So this is more than just delivery, right? And like, how do you solve problems like that? I think this is super complicated and multifaceted. You actually need, for example, a lot more information before you can get started. So number one, grocery. But if somebody can crack this problem well, it would be possibly another Grab, but for grocery. Grab tried to do grocery, but they're not right. They just
Or you could have a really, really, really huge warehouse in the middle of Singapore that has everything that everyone wants, right? Just like how cloud kitchens are supposedly supposed to help with the whole F&B scene.
Yeah. So actually, NTUC has their own fulfillment centers, something like the Amazon fulfillment centers that are like one step before the But scaling that, how do you scale that such that you can service the entire nation? That's another question altogether. So yeah, stuff like that, and you guys already listed out like online remote working, e-commerce. There are a host of other. So this is where I challenge everyone to think things a little bit differently. So what has always fallen short for me when I'm doing angel investing, when people come to me, is sometimes I feel like they are just rehashing the same playbook as the giants. Like, okay, so Grab is doing this, we're going to do this, but we're going to do it cheaper, we're going to do it faster. I'm like, you can't compare. You can't compete.
You always see that,
yeah. Yeah, so if you're going to do, say, grocery delivery or like fulfillment, how are you going to be different? How are you going to optimize this? The approach, the approach and the space that you want to operate in, I mean, like, that needs to be a differentiating factor. So I really urge everyone in Startup Weekend to not just fall into the whole, like, we can do this faster, we can do this cheaper, and we're just going to tweak small little things in the business model to differentiate ourselves. It doesn't work that way. It has got to be like kind of even like a paradigm shift. I think that will truly be innovative.
Well, that's quite a lot for them, but I think
lots of hints for teams as well.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so maybe to wrap up, because we're running short of time, Shuru, could you help to share a final word of advice for upcoming participants? Actually, someone asked on Facebook as well, what contributed to your success at work and home, like working from home? So any words of advice along this vein? Yeah.
Okay. I think it is, okay, so if you look at the founders of Zopium, right? We did the company for 6 years. We sold it to Zendesk. We continued staying there for 3 years. Together, okay, we're still like, working well. That's 9 years. And then after that, we are still coming together to try to start a company. Now, like ever since last July, we're like brainstorming every week to kind of come up with new ideas. So that is the friendship that is the friendship, the support, that the very strong relationship that you want co-founders to have. And this is what is going to help you tide through all the challenges. Because if you have good communication, even if you sometimes hate each other, but you can work well together because of the common good of the company, and you are able to rise above your own ego, you can agree to disagree, like all of those things that make friendships great. And that you like us, you can last 10 years and you are still friends. And like, I mean, I just had a very huge kind of like family crisis, and the first people I will go talk to are my founders, right? Like, you can trust these people, and I think ultimately it was the challenges that we had to go through as a team that resulted in the relationship being strong. But I think it's always about the people first, not so much the ideas. Yeah. So that's my takeaway. I don't know how it's going to help everyone, but
it really helped me, because like for myself, working in a startup, I've been with my buddy from Lazada since 5 years ago until now. We're still working on new ideas. I mean, we're working on a 4th startup now. Yeah, it's going to be insane.
Yeah, see? That's a great story, right?
Yeah. You can really draw the parallel. So, I mean, for all those who are tuning in, right, this is really solid advice, not just for the short weekend that you have, but also, throughout the entire course of your life. You find someone or a group of the bunch of crazy people that you are going for this weekend, really, really propels you forward. So, I think, unfortunately, right, we are coming to the end of the session. We'd like to thank you for joining us today. Really appreciate the time that you've taken to spend with us. Of course, I think you could have spent more time with hearing what Lawrence Wong had to say. And that would really have helped you. But I'm sure you're going to catch up on the news shortly after this. But yeah, thanks again. We'll also be sending you some details of what's coming up over the weekend,
Yeah.
and also details on the final pictures and all stuff. So stay tuned. Derwin and Co will definitely keep you posted on that.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's my birthday too, by the way.
It's your birthday as well?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday!
Jit, shall we?
All right, thanks guys. Thanks, Jit. Thanks for saying so again. And all the best, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Happy birthday. Bye-bye.
Bye. Happy birthday, Qing Ru.
Happy birthday. Wow.
Wow, that was I didn't know it was a birthday. So for everyone that's tuning in, right, the reason why we had to end a little bit abruptly was also because we have another guest coming on. His name is Christopher Maneu, senior startup developer for Microsoft. He's been there for the past 3 years, working and training and teaching developers across the continent on cloud and open source technologies. So prior to Microsoft, right, he also has helped large corporations and startups create really, really good and user-friendly apps and services. He's also been at Startup Weekend before, and guess what? He's been both a participant and he's also been a mentor. Oh, hi, Chris.
Yeah, Chris has joined us. Can you hear us, Chris? I think you're muted.
Hello.
Hey, Chris.
Yes,
Hey,
I
Chris.
hear you. Nice.
Let's hear you for a minute. Let me check the speaker.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I hear you.
So we were just sharing about a very brief history about you at Microsoft, and also your involvement at Startup Weekend, both as a participant and a mentor. Actually, it's really amazing. That's really interesting. Not many people have that under the belt.
Yeah, so thank you for joining us for today's AMA session. Maybe you could start off jumping right into your experience with Startup Weekends. Like maybe you could share how many Startup Weekends have you been part of as a participant or mentor? And maybe you could share also whether they were all in the same city or were you part of a worldwide string of Startup Weekends? Yeah.
Okay, sure. So I think I've been part of 4 different Startup Weekends, 2 as a participant, and one of them I joined an existing team, and for another one with a group of friends we created a team and get selected in the first hours, and then have members we didn't know before the weekend join us, and 2 other as a mentor, and I've been in I think all of them were in Toulouse, which is a city in south of France.
Okay, so how was it like? How was it like over there? In Singapore, it's a bit different in the way we do things. The recipe is still pretty much the same. But between the 2 experiences, as a mentor and as a participant, right? I'm sure you could you use the experience that you had as a participant and then eventually mirror that into how you advise people, right? So for those who are coming, this weekend it is going to be a crazy 48, 54 hours for them. So just to get right off the bat, like what would you say would be the most important thing for them getting started this weekend?
Yeah, I think the first thing to check is what do you want at the end of this experience, because working almost 54 hours straight is definitely an experience. I don't know how did it happen in a virtual fashion. I never participated in a hackathon in a virtual fashion, but in person it was just a crazy experience. And on my second participation, when we had our own project, the fact is we kind of split the team between developers and people thinking about the product, the strategy, and ultimately the pitch we will do at the end of the Startup Weekend. And the fact is almost none of the code we wrote during a Startup Weekend was shown during the pitch. Because we pivoted like 2 times in 54 hours. So I think even if you're a developer, you definitely have something to bring on the table on a Startup Weekend, but you need to be clear on the objectives. And I think the objectives of participating in a startup weekend is making connections and maybe creating a network or nurturing your network, and B, if you have a project, it's basically to try to focus on what's important in your big idea and try to consolidate your idea on something very specific and get feedback on it. And not having, I think if your objective is having an MVP at the end of the weekend is great, but maybe it's not the best place to get a true MVP. And maybe you can like fake almost everything. Like for example, having one of my first advice when I mentor developers at a startup weekend is don't create a database, period. If you want to have some kind of data you show on a form, etc., create a simple text file, a CSV file, and having imported is great because other team members can like use Excel or Google Spreadsheets to populate this during the weekend. And at the end, just before the demo, you just load this CSV onto your program. Yes, it's fake. You cannot write anything, but that's not the purpose of this startup weekend.
Yeah, definitely. I think
so maybe before we move on to the next question, we're also taking live comments from Facebook as right now. And also I'd just like to let the viewers know, keep your comments coming, and we'll address all Startup Weekend related questions at the end of the session. After our session with Christopher, after our AMA with Christopher. So Hussein, you were saying?
No, so like back to your experience. So when you were a participant, right? What were the major pitfalls and how did you overcome them? I mean, granted, it might be due to fatigue, or I'm working with the same person and it's looking at his face for 48 hours can be taxing, especially when he may not be the one that you really want to work with. But aside from that, right, like, were there any other pitfalls or major challenges that those our viewers can actually anticipate and look forward to, and how do they fix themselves over the weekend as well?
Yeah, during my two times when I was a participant, we happened in somewhere in the middle of the startup weekend, having two people working exactly on the same thing, because everything is going fast and people having ideas and they know how to do things, and we just showed up. Hey, somebody in the room. We showed up. Hey, somebody needs to create a landing page. Okay, and two people actually started to build the landing page at the same time without coordinating things. So it may be a silly thing, but yes, we are going very fast in a startup weekend due to the format, but we still need to have some checkpoints. And we had it in my second participation. Right from the beginning, we said, okay, every 2 hours we stop. We do like a 10-minute breaks to bring some coffee, tea, freshen your head, and we do like a 5-10 minutes synchronization, just to be sure that we are all going in the same place. And if the strategy team for both participation, we had a few people who were thinking about the strategy and the direction of the product, while people were building the pitch and other people were building an actual demo, etc. And these people changed minds several times during the weekend. So we wanted to be sure that everybody is on the same page, but ultimately at the end of the weekend, even if only one person is trained to do the pitch, like everybody owns the pitch.
Right.
I hope the viewers
synchronization
are really taking notes for this. Really valuable information.
Yeah.
Anyway, you were saying, Jit? Sorry.
Yeah, so we have a question on the floor. I think one of the participants, our viewers, were really curious about what were your ideas in your previous Startup Weekend Singapore. Maybe you could share a little bit more about what you came up with and how did you go in the 3 days.
Yeah, so the first, my first participation, it was a good sharing application. So the idea is not I don't know if you know Vinted app. I don't know if it's popular in Asia, but in France we have several apps when you can just snap a picture of something you don't want anymore and you sell it for a few bucks. So somebody is getting a cheap product and you are basically creating more space into your house.
It's basically
And
right?
yeah. And the idea of this project was to basically not exchanging money, but just exchanging goods. So you're exchanging a TV for a DVD player, for example. So no money involved during the transaction.
Is this pure barter trading?
Yeah, exactly. But organized and kind of secure, because you can have like a rating over the participants. So if somebody exchanges something with scrap or not working anymore, then you have ways to tell to the community, hey, this person is not doing good within the community of sharing goods. And the other idea was in the education space, and it was a tool for teachers to detect if students are paying attention and help them to create a more dynamic presentation with some heuristics like the voice, the tone of the voice, the poses. We capture also the video of the slides, and we try to understand if the slides is too complicated. And if you have several slides who are too complicated, we calculate an attention index to try to help teacher create more engaging courses.
Okay. Thank you so much for sharing as well. So I think we are just about coming to, oh no, I think we have time for just one more question. So I'll take this one. So we had a question coming from the floor. What's a good way or a good app to start if you are an aspiring developer, especially for this weekend? Is there any platform that they should be looking to for the very beginning? Yeah, or any means that's useful?
Okay, so if you're absolutely not a developer at all, and you want to get started, and you think Startup Weekend could be a good way to have an opportunity to work on something real and not just a dummy app, I'm not sure there is any resource to help you build your skills and build something at the same time, writing actual code. However, there is more and more no-code or low-code platforms out there that allows you to create an application without writing any code. We have one at Microsoft, which is called Power Apps. But there is other ones out there, and it's interesting because yes, you will be able to write a very few lines of codes, and it will be easier to grasp. And the fact is, it will allow you to understand the process of creating an app. The process of creating an app, coming from an idea and having a real product in the end of the users, is much more than just writing code. So it could be a great way to have a foot in the process, try to understand how to organize your data, how to create a UI for a website or a mobile app, etc. And then you can go after and look for resources and write actual code. But it's definitely a first step you can take. It's also, these tools also allows you generally to create a workflow, so you'll be introduced to like basics, flow and Boolean mathematics, etc. Things that you will need in any language you will pick after.
Right. Okay. Well, that's really useful. Thank you so much for sharing. For all those aspiring developers, I really hope you are taking notes, because this is a gold mine. You don't get this every day. Yeah. Okay. So going back to, you mentioned that that you had a product from Microsoft. Are there any other Microsoft products that our participants may or can use for this weekend as well?
Yeah, definitely. Of course. Definitely. The fact is, we at Microsoft, we consider that the next wave of developers would be what we call citizen developers. And citizen developers are not trained professional engineers are like everybody who can use a computer will tomorrow be able to create some piece of software for maybe your own needs and or your team needs. So it's very simple apps or simple process, but it allows you to get a better productivity. And in fact, if you're only using Word, Excel, and other Office 365 tools, you can actually create almost a business out of it. And we had I lost in my mind an example of an actual startup that started like this. They just created a form online, and then when somebody submits a request within this form, it's automatically added to an Excel spreadsheet, and then an email is sent so somebody can do something very manually at the beginning. But the idea is that the interface with the customer, like the customers didn't know that they had real humans monitoring these requests and acting. So they've been able to focus on what the experience should be from a user point of view. And then on the second step, they build an entire system that automates all the process. And there's the things you can do with, like, basically the Office suite. You can build things like this. We also have a product, I think it's in beta, that allows you to visually create a chatbot. Again, there is almost no code, only in logic elements. Like if you have this in this message, then you reply this. And you can start building services just with these tools without, again, writing any code.
Right.
Yeah. And I think that answers one of the questions we had from the floor as well. So one of them were asking whether I need any coding knowledge, do I have to be a developer to create an app and whatnot. And I think Christopher really went through that, and he shared that, yeah, there are a lot of tools you can use right now, and it exists in Microsoft and where else, everywhere else as well. So you could utilize those tools to come up with your MVP, your prototype, right? And another innocent question that we have, like a fundamental question that a lot of hackathoners have as well, is should they start on a B2B or a B2C product?
That's a tricky question. I think having a B2B or B2C product is, you will have different, you maybe have the same issue, but at different times. For example, scaling a B2B product, like getting your first customers, could be easier in a B2B fashion than in a B2C in terms of revenues, because of course, to match the revenue of one large corporate you will need on a B2B product, you will need to have, like, I don't know, maybe 1 million users in a B2C product. And customer acquisition in a B2C product is very hard to build. While on a B2B fashion, you can like focus very specific companies, and it may be easier for small companies to get them on board. Large scale enterprise companies, another thing, because the procurement process is complicated, that kind of things. Even if at Microsoft, within the Microsoft for Startups program, we have something to help startups to get into our enterprise accounts. But it's very specific. So yeah, but the idea is, I'm not sure that would be my first question if I had to create a startup. My first question would be, what interests me, what maybe an issue I am facing myself and I can address myself, rather than, hey, do I want to create a B2B or a B2C startup? Because you can scale. We have like Facebook is scaling on a B2B2C, but it's huge part of his business is due to the B2C offering, even if it's free offering. So you can build great B2C companies as well as B2B companies, but yeah, I'm not sure if it's the first question to ask yourself.
So I mean, going back to what you mentioned about challenges and what you're actually facing, right? I mean, right now the entire world is unified in the efforts against COVID, and everyone's doing their part, right? And also it's also the central theme for this weekend's startup weekend. So we wanted to ask, like, how are things in France, and were there, I mean, if you were in virtual startup weekend in France where you are right now, what would you be solving?
Okay, so yeah, the situation in France is, I would say, okay-ish compared to some other countries. We are in a plateau of the numbers of cases and people going to hospital. We are
Yep.
slightly decreasing, and we have a shelter-in-place policy until May 11 for now, and we are starting to plan for the after time. And I think this is, I think solving the COVID crisis, I would not say is not an important thing, but I think we will have much more opportunities and needs for the after period. What the world will be after the COVID. And I think because a lot of companies will shut down, a lot of people will have no longer a job, or they will have a job but will change dramatically compared to today. A lot of people are going in remote work, but I've done like 5 or 6 webinars on remote work, and people are not doing remote work today. They are doing remote emergency work today, and going to a truly remote organization tomorrow, they will still face a lot of challenges. So yeah, I think there is a ton of opportunities to prepare the next phase after COVID, or maybe building more resilient economies, etc. For example, in France, one of the biggest natural disaster we will have, it's almost in the next 100 years, it's almost 100% sure that we have this disaster, is the Seine River. So it's a main river crossing entirely Paris, going overbank, overflowing. We know that will happen in France. Almost everything is concentrated into Paris. So we will have a lot of things to do to create more resilient communities, economies, companies, etc. And there is a ton of things to do and to support this transition to a new thing. We don't know what is a new thing yet, but there is a ton of ideas to explore there.
Right. Sounds like a ticking time bomb. I mean, the way you put it.
It actually is. The fact is, the French government is quite well prepared. I can talk for hours about this issue in France, but we have exercise every 5 years to test if all the emergency services are prepared for this. We will have to shut down all the subway in all the city, that kind of things. And like creating walls at the entries, we'll have to move trains outside the city to protect the rails. Everything is a lot of things from the public infrastructure. They are prepared for this. But the fact is, the companies and people are not prepared for this. So today's disaster is COVID. Tomorrow it could be an overflow, and in 5 years it could be another thing. The fact is, we will have recurring disasters. And how we can prepare for this. It's also another topic, I think, interesting to work on this today.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I think one thing that's really important for startups and businesses to have is foresight, right? Looking at years ahead, or for our hackathoners, months ahead, what's your milestones going to be like? What should we be aiming to solve ahead of time, not only now, right? Yeah. Anyways, we're coming to the end of this session as well. We'll be taking one last question from the floor. I will just go through the comment section we have right now, and we got one question that states, so this is kind of funny question. Everyone knows Microsoft runs some awesome hackathons. Any juicy stories to share with us?
Juicy stories. I don't know juicy stories, but I think one of the biggest hackathon that I still remember years after It was a hackathon. We went outside the city in a big farm. They had like 60, 80 developers. We had a campfire every night, etc. And the fact we were kind of isolated from the TV, we had an access to internet, but it was very weak. So basically, you just use internet for like getting NPM packages, and that's it. No chat, no Facebook, etc. Because we didn't have the bandwidth. And it was really interesting to very isolate from the outside world during 50 hours. It was very interesting. I think we created better bounds between the members, between the participants. I even played piano with another participants. Like we played an improv just like this, and it was very funny. So yeah, it's not. It's maybe the opposite of a virtual hackathon, because we are all spread all around the city or countries, etc. While there we are all gathered and outside the city and maybe disconnected. So yeah, it may be not juicy, but it was definitely a different kind of hackathon. Like isolating from everybody or from the outside world was a different and interesting experience.
Really cool. Seems very communal, like coming together around a campfire and
very primal, though.
Really cool.
Very primal.
Before we end, we'd like to take this opportunity to thank Microsoft for being an event sponsor for our Startup Weekend Singapore and extending Microsoft Teams to all our participants as well. We really appreciate your time taken off to join us and for gracing this AMA as well. Thank you very much, Chris. Any parting words for participants?
Any last words? Enjoy your time you will have. Communicate. It will be a different kind of hackathons because it's virtual one. Do not hesitate to, from time to time, jump on a call and not just do some chat. And again, don't focus on having a real product at the end of the week. If you can mock up your app entirely in PowerPoint or Google Slide or Keynote, unless you can show your point, show what you have will you look like, I think you already set to a great goal. And if you have Microsoft Teams, it will be easier to jump on a call and to exchange documents and etc.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. We really appreciate your time, like what Jit said. I think we just have some parting words for also our participants. So for all the participants that we have, just both those who are tuning in right now, do keep a lookout for the Microsoft team as well. They will be around to assist you also during the startup weekend. Chris, will you be there?
I can jump occasionally on a Teams if I'm invited.
Okay, yeah. So sorry, just a slight correction. The Microsoft team will be available to dial in. We'll send for Chris. We'll send you the links for the final pitches as well. So our team will also keep you posted on what's going to happen over the weekend. All right. Yeah. Anyway, I think Jit has some.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I think, right now you can take a leave and we'll be addressing our participants and also the viewers shortly. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Chris.
Thanks for joining us, Chris.
Thank you. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.
Au revoir.
Bye. I see you do some French dance. Watching too much of...
a little bit here and there, yeah, so I think for those who have tuned in, thank you so much for the hour plus or so listening to us. We hope that you enjoyed and found that the guests were useful. I think there are some administrative things that we'll be sharing with you. Jit?
Yeah, so just a heads up, and if you all don't really know You'll be coming. Those who haven't signed up first, let me implore you to please go down to the link below. Sign up. You don't want to miss this opportunity. Coming together with a few teams. Your idea might actually be one of the ideas that might flatten this curve, right? We will never know. So yeah, come on here, put on the thinking hats and work together on this real problem, right? So you'll be joining 400 participants as well. So over this weekend, to solve challenges and like I mentioned, the problems arising from COVID, it'll be 100% virtual. So you can be in your pajamas and sitting behind the screen. Yeah, you can work like you can work from home and nobody cares what you're wearing. Nobody cares what
you should be working from home. Please try to comply to all the circuit breaker measures that the government has put in place. We don't want you coming to any fines or anything related to that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, the tickets are absolutely free, right? Just to remind you, you don't have to pay a single cent, and the prizes, the perks are you just have to stay tuned. We'll be sharing more about the prize and perks. It's really something that will definitely get you more motivated to join as well.
Yeah.
Another thing is, for this Friday, for teams who have already joined and want to know more information, you all will have to submit your ideas by 11:59 p.m. on Friday itself. And also don't forget to get on the Discord platform if you're a participant. The team registration deadline is on the 24th of April at 2359 as well, 11:59.
Yeah, so I think like what Jit said, do stay tuned. Check out all our pages. We'll also be disseminating information as well. Grab your friends. I made a bet with Derwin that we can hit more than 500. Sorry, we can hit more than 600. So please help me.
We've all placed in bets. Some of our bets really no longer pakai already, bro, because it went up.
All right. So anyway, thank you guys. Thank you, Jade, as well.
Thanks to Say for joining us.
No problem. See you guys this Friday.
Yeah, we're launching in 3 days. See you guys. Bye.